basically just in 5 minutes or less, just kind of describe, sum it all up for everybody, your success story.
Okay, well, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here. When Allison approached me and asked me to be a part of this panel, I was very excited because I totally understand what kind of emotional roller coaster some of you are on right now. When my husband and I decided to start our family, we were told obviously we needed help. I'm a polycystic ovary girl, and so no ovulation happening. So we started with the Clomid, no results whatsoever. So we started with the injectables. The first round of my injectables, we got pregnant. It was a success. And 9 months later, had little Connor, 8 pounds, everything healthy, great. He just turned 11 actually last month. So, but then we decided, okay, let's go ahead and give little Connor a baby brother or sister. So we knew the Clomid wasn't going to work. Went ahead with the injectables, and again, first time around with the injectables, got pregnant. I was so ecstatic. We were so excited. We're like, wow, God is really watching out for us. He knows we just need a little help. Here we go. 12 weeks into the pregnancy, miscarried. At that point, it was just devastating. It just felt like someone just took that knife direct to my heart and said, you're not meant to have any more children. You should just maybe stop. Well, of course, my husband and I were bound and determined to have another child. And gave my body a while to recover after the miscarriage. And then after the miscarriage, we started up again with the injectables. And we also did the IUI, of course. And the first round after the miscarriage, my body did not respond whatsoever to the medication. My doctor said at that time, you know what, this may not happen again for you. You may be heading into pre-ovarian failure. So we either can try again and be a little more aggressive, or we can just, say we're done. Of course, we're not done. We tried again, a little more aggressive the next round with the injectables, did the IUI again, and 9 months later, Callie, Gavin, and Madison were born. So yes, I am one of those multiple pregnancies. We had triplets, and in fact, we are celebrating their 7th birthday today. So we are very excited. So when we've been talking about how the support is so important, it truly is. My husband obviously was my rock through this whole thing. He was there through the frustrations, the crying, the temper tantrums that I had, everything, the mood swings, whatever it was, he was there for me. I wish he was actually here with me today, but he's got all the kids right now at baseball practice. So, but having that support group is so, so important. I can't stress that enough. And now, as I'm a counselor myself, and I can't imagine going through this by yourself. I mean, you have your spouse, your partners, whoever it is, your family, friends. They need to be there for you, and I hope they will continue to be there for you. But I hope that you realize, too, that there is a plan for you, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, whether it be success through fertility medication, or whether it be adoption or some other kind of route. There is success. There is hope.
Well, I'll just start off in the beginning. I went off birth control in 2007, January of 2007, and we gave it several months, and everything that we looked at said to give it 12 months. Well, after 11, we decided to go ahead and go to a doctor, talk with them, and they looked at things with both of us and told us that largely due to the male factor infertility, that the only way that we were going to get pregnant was through IVF. And so then everything in our life became comparing the cost of, a new driveway at the house, or, renovation or whatever. Well, we could do that, or we could try to have a baby, And probably you guys are going through the same thing, with the large cost of what the IVF was. So we decided we'd just keep trying for a while on our own. So we gave it another year or so. And then we went ahead and went to a doctor, talked to them about IUI. we decided to go down that route. The doctor that we talked with then said that we could try it for a while and see if it worked, and if not, we could go down the IVF route. And sorry, I'm looking at my notes because Tammy and I are friends, and I talked with her about the various numbers that we've encountered along the way. So we ended up 4 IUIs is what we had to do. The first one, I had 3 follicles, and I don't remember what the 3 follicles that were the right size. Don't remember what the sperm count was with that one. It didn't work. With the second one, I had 2 follicles that were the right size, and they couldn't see on the left side with the ultrasound, so we don't know how many were over there. At that time, we had 2 million on the sperm count and ended up getting a positive HCG. And that was after the 2-week wait that I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. And we're just thrilled, but they told us it was a voicemail that I got, of course, late on a Friday, and couldn't talk to anybody after it, so we had to wait through the weekend. It was a low number. It was only a 7, and I think anything above a 5 is positive. So that Monday, I went back in for another blood test, and it turned out to be negative. So really frustrating, that nobody could answer why, could just, what was the term that they called it?
Chemical pregnancy.
Yeah, chemical pregnancy. So nobody could really give us an answer why. So really frustrating, to have gone through all this, get there, and then you don't know what the reason was that it didn't work. So we took a few months off. I ended up doing the HSG test. Can't pronounce it. And then everything was fine with that, so we went ahead and started another round of hormones. I only had, I think it was 1 follicle at that time, so we decided not to do the IUI. There were some questions for the panel about, how you dealt with the cost. And ours actually, we had 6 rounds of IUI that were covered, so we were kind of on a countdown with each one. Okay, we only have 5 left, we only have 4 left. So we decided we didn't want to chance it with only having 1 follicle that could have worked. So we skipped that one, but we went ahead and did the Avidril release. So no luck with that one. And then we took a few months off just to give ourselves a break. I was tired of doing the injectables, tired of going through all the side effects of everything related to it. We went on vacation, and constantly getting the advice from everybody. Oh, you just need to relax. I'm sure everyone has heard that and so sick of it. And yeah, it's just you just gotta take it and tell them it's not just relaxing. We would try to tell people, that's not what we need. It's a medical condition and. Oh, no, you just need to relax. Like somebody said, go on vacation, And so our third one that we ended up doing was March of 2010. I actually had 7 follicles at that time and was told, basically I had to sign off saying that if we had, that we acknowledged that if we had the 7 babies, or 7 ones that worked, that we could do a multiple reduction, or reduction at that time. So we were fine with that. Had 56 million sperm at that time and still didn't get a positive. So just really frustrating with those numbers being both so high that it didn't work out. So number 4 was May 1st of 2010. I had 6 follicles, one of which they said could have been a cyst. And again, we had 2 million sperm at that time. And that was actually the one that turned out to be a positive. So for everybody out there that questions, I don't know how many people have seen, like a male reproductive endocrinologist, but we saw that to be a really, really helpful thing along the way. We had talked with there's not very many in the Kansas City area, but we talked with somebody and he gave some advice of herbs and medications and just various suggestions that John could do. And so we think a lot of that is, what added to us, ending up getting pregnant in the end. And, after I got that positive HCG, the first time I was so nervous that something was going to happen, like it did the second time that we tried. And I think I ended up doing 3 pregnancy tests at home just to keep verifying that, yes, I was still pregnant. And we actually had a trip planned. We were going out to Vegas. So it was kind of either going to be drink away my sorrows if I was not pregnant or celebrate and relax if I was. And I actually, just for anybody out there that, after you get through the 2-week wait, if you think that you're starting to have your period, and that maybe you're like, oh, it didn't work or whatever, so you have a drink, alcohol, you do something that you aren't trying to do whenever you're thinking that you might be pregnant. I actually had bleeding and cramping for 11 days after the 2-week wait, and it was successful. So don't let that be your only reason for thinking that you're not pregnant, because you could be, and risk the chance of doing something that you're not supposed to do if you are pregnant. So just wanted to put that out there that even if you get a positive, or even if you haven't had your test done yet, and you think that you're getting your period, it could actually be related to. They couldn't really tell me why that I had the bleeding and cramping, but just wanted to put it out there that that's a possibility.
touching on the male factor infertility, when we got the results in December of 2007 that it was entirely male factor, it was, to be brutally honest, it was a shocking cut. Wow, the hormones are flowing. I definitely got a room full. Honestly, it took us about a year before we really started looking hardcore at some of the options for male factor. We honestly didn't know. I mean, we were led to believe that initially that it was just, it is what it is, and you're going to have to work around it. IVF, you kind of check, and we'll move forward, we'll make it happen.
And we even asked that first doctor if there was anything that we could do for the male, or could he take certain medications. We were told no, absolutely not, which was false. So if you get information that you question, research it. That's how we ended up coming along this path, was just a whole bunch of internet researching and what could we do, what success stories are there. So just don't necessarily take what people tell you to be absolutely true if you go and research.
Yeah, long story short, get a second opinion, go see your experts, go see an expert of the expert, question everything. You're there to go see a reproductive doctor because there are sources of information. They're all very good, but they may not always have the same information. We ended up seeing a reproductive endocrinologist from KU who was a lifesaver for us. Kind of, for lack of a better term, he gave me back my mojo. And to this day, I can't thank the guy enough. But there's a combination of, everything's different. And one of the things we learned that really made a difference is that some of the tests they do on like your sperm samples in an office may not be as in-depth as the samples you do at a reproductive endocrinologist. Particularly the gentleman at KU, and your treatment can be designed around, whether it's morphology or whether it's motility or whether it's just low numbers, and kind of looking at lifestyle factors there. And it took about a year to get my numbers to where they needed to be, but they finally happened, and we were blessed. And ironically enough, that trip we had planned out for Vegas was, I had a job opportunity in Las Vegas. We're going out to look at houses and do that jazz. And then, the morning I left to go out there, we had a positive pregnancy test. She came out with me just because we were kind of worried about things, and the entire time she had those problems.
Like laying in a hotel room the whole entire time.
Yeah, but it ended up being God's plan for us. I mean, God threw us a curveball in multiple ways, but it ended up being something we were fortunate enough to kind of hit out of the park. So.
Nicole.
Yeah, my name is Nicole. I am now the mother of 3. My second 2 came as twins through IVF. So I'll start at the beginning. My first daughter, I have PCOS too. Sounds so loud. And we had started some of the medications, that you take for the PCOS. It really had just started them. And we were talking about we're going to try to start getting pregnant. So we lived in Springfield, and there's really no specialist in Springfield. And at that time, I don't think we needed one yet, but went to see just our normal OB and found out we were pregnant. And so I don't know how we had her. She was just our little miracle baby. And I'm sorry.
Who of us hasn't been emotional and cried?
Sorry. I cry for no reason all the time, so ignore me. Then we decided, we didn't know how hard it would be because it was so easy the first time to have more. And, and we tried with oral medications, and they did nothing. A different oral medication, it did nothing. We had moved to Kansas City, and so we started seeing a specialist then. And we did an IUI, and that one didn't work. I think they wanted to give me some stronger medication, but they were concerned about a multiple gestation. So they said probably the best option for us would be the IVF. And so we decided to go ahead and go for it. And we did. We ended up having 3 embryos, with the in time to implant. So they implanted 2 and had the boys. And so we still have 1 more embryo. Sorry. waiting. And support, like everybody said, is so important, having a spouse and family and friends, and our faith to help get us through it all. And I guess that's it.
Hi everybody, my name's Tish. I have polycystic ovaries. Me and my husband decided that we were going to start a family in '07, and we thought, okay, this is going to be a little difficult. And we got pregnant right off the bat. We're like, oh my God, this is easy. Okay, what's the deal here? About 10 weeks later, we lost it. 10 weeks later, we lost it, and we didn't realize how much that affected us as far as how much we wanted a baby. We went for about a year. We tried and tried, nothing happened. And we were talking to our doctors, and they kept saying, keep trying. And we're looking at them like, we've been trying. We were checking the ovulation, we're taking the test, and we're doing doggy style, monkey style, whatever. It's working for us.
Everybody was thinking it. She just said it.
Those stories, try this position, that position, whatever.
At that point, we tried to make it upside down.
Yeah, it's like turkey base for glow. But anyways, we ended up seeing a specialist. We did 6 IUIs, no success. His count was perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. And we're looking at like, well, my polycystic is under control. We're ovulating, we're making eggs, and we're doing IUIs. Nothing's working. What's wrong? What's wrong here? And then we're looking at maybe doing IVF. Well, and considering IVF, it's so expensive, and there's only one shot you get, and if it doesn't work, you're out all that money. And we're like, not only are we stressing about trying to have a baby, now we're stressing about how we're going to pay for this. And our doctor was like at the time, well, you can do IVF, it's going to cost $300 to talk to us, and then, 10, 20 grand just to even, get the ball rolling, not including your meds and all this stuff. And we're looking at each other like, that's a lot of money. I was like, how do we not know we're missing something here? How do we know something else is wrong, and we're going to put all this money into this and it not work, and we find out there was something that was missed? So, I was talking to friends, and lo and behold, did I not realize how many people were going through the same thing we were going through. I thought it was just us. I thought we were the only ones that were having all this problem, because everybody else around me was saying, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Oh, I didn't want to get pregnant, but I'm pregnant now. And I'm looking at them like, I was like, let that be me. I want that, And I found a whole bunch of people that I didn't know that was in the same situation. We talked about it, and in talking about it, you get more information. I found that another friend of mine went out of state and did in vitro. Another friend of mine knew of a research clinic down in St. Louis that did some extra testing on the male side. So I was like, well, give me that information. Let me call them up. And I called them up. They even did a free consult on the phone, which I thought was amazing. They talked to us, and they were like, well, what about the male side? Because he's looking at everything. He goes, well, it looks like you're under control. What about the male side? He's like, well, they told us his numbers look good, everything looks fine. He goes, well, did they check him completely? Did they check, his, motility, his fragmentation, things like that? And we're like, what? So he's like, come on down here, we'll do this test. Well, they did a sperm DNA fragmentation test, and then we found out that was a big problem that we had. Even though it looked nice on paper, there was an issue with that. So we're like, okay, so we do need to do in vitro, is that correct? And they're like, yes, that's what you need to do. But, they had, what do we do? How do we know this is going to work for us? So basically we decided, we talked about it, prayed about it, and, they had, they can do this thing called ICSI, which is where they separate, the good from the bad, and then they, put it into the egg and fertilize it. So we're looking at that, and we know what the problem is. They did have supplements that they gave him, and it did make a difference on his numbers and the way things looked. And we ended up going through the in vitro. I was scared. We bought a 2-cycle because they had I call it special, but it's like sale. Yeah, it's like 10 grand for one try, but for 2 attempts it's 14. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to do. If it doesn't work the first time, at least I know another 4 grand. We can, it's like an insurance policy, because this is a lot of money, and I don't want to spend 20 grand if it doesn't work the first time. So we went ahead and did the 2, and the first time we did it, I ended up having like 30 eggs, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a walking whale here, but that's okay. They took them out, 25 fertilized, and since they had so many to work with, instead of doing a 3-day transfer, we did a 5-day transfer, which means they had more to sit there and grow and make sure that the blastocysts were really good and healthy and things of that sort. We ended up, they transferred 2 of them, and they waited on, I had like, 6 left, I think? And they let those grow for another 7 days, and we ended up with 4 that they froze. And, we prayed. I mean, they told me, go down, lay down, don't do anything. He has me laying down on the couch, legs up, don't even get up unless you gotta go to the bathroom, and those types of things for 2 whole days. And then we had to do our blood test. Well, here we are, we've been stressing out, and trying so hard not to stress out because they tell you not to, praying that this is gonna work. So we ended up, it's like, at the end of the week, I think it was, we had to do our blood test. Well, I'm not going down to Quest Diagnostic because I work in a place where I can draw my lab there and I can get the lab results. So I was just like, I'm drawing my lab now, we're going to get this result because I'm not waiting 2 or 3 days because we've been waiting 2 years. So we did that, and I got my results that day, and I'm like, oh my God, it was positive. We had, our count was up to 30, and I started thinking, oh my God, do we have 2 in there? Is there 1 in there? Those types of things. And I was so excited. I didn't know if I wanted to run out the door or jump and scream in the middle of the clinic because we had a positive. And, I called my husband and I told him, and, we were so excited that it worked. The next, 8, 9 months, I was still concerned, I was still hoping, like, please don't lose this, because, we had the 1 miscarriage. But thank God we now have a 4-month-old.
I'd first like to apologize for my wife. This is not the first time she's came close to embarrassing me. She doesn't have a filter on her all the time. Whatever comes in her head.
That's okay.
She was real.
But just from my opinion, from the male point of view, that was something I think with us that gave us quite a bit of hope. As far as my side of the male, because thinking to me, I'm your atypical alpha male type personality. I'm a police officer. Don't hold that against me. But I'm a police officer. I'm on the SWAT team. I'm a police department. I'm like, I think I'm like, testosterone is like, you're the problem. So it's kind of humbling, but at the same time, it was like what he's saying. It kind of throws a little bit of disappointment towards her way. It was like, am I contributing to the problem? Then on top of that, with my job, what I do, it's easier for some people to kind of take a step away from it. But when I go to work, I see people that seem like they just fall over and they're pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, through all the struggle where we're at now, it makes me appreciate it as far as even waking up 2 or 3 times a night. It makes me appreciate it in that. And, we were a little bit worried about having the twin. She overlooked this part twin because he was so big. I told her if it was a boy, it was going to be big, but we had a 10-pound boy. Yeah, so we're lucky we're blessed. So.
Hello, my name is Shelly McCain, and I'm here to kind of give you guys my heart about adoption because, gosh, you would think that everybody up here would be crying because all the hormones. I'm thinking, if all y'all are meds, we're in trouble. So I've spoken at many churches and in front of many committees that just, tell them my story. And the best thing about it is, all these doctors have had to do all this research and the science and all this kind of stuff. All I have to do is tell you from my heart. So I did write notes just in case because I was trying to make sure I stayed on a good time limit because I can ramble. So like I said, my name is Shelly, and I just want to take a moment to share my story with you guys about our adoption. And I'd like to start by my husband and I met when we were 15 years old, and we had been together, and never really had any other boyfriend-girlfriend thing. And so when he graduated from college, he proposed, and we waited about a year till we decided we wanted to try to start a family. So we waited, I would say, a little over a year and never got pregnant. And so I immediately thought, okay, well, there's something wrong with me, so let's go ahead and go to the doctor and figure this kind of stuff out. So took a trip to a doctor, and they did test after test after test, and I know you guys are all nodding because you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they kept saying, no, you seem to be fine, all the numbers are great, and everything here seems to be good. And they did one test on my husband and said, that's the issue. So after finding out what the diagnosis was, we said, okay, well, let's seek some treatment. So what we did is that we went ahead and just said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and just try whatever, is out there that they've recommended. And the first doctor we said, well, let's try artificial insemination. I said, okay, that's great. So we did that, and, the cost of it, our insurance was really good. They actually paid for a lot of the procedures and stuff, but when it came to the medication, it was over $1,000 just for my medication for 1 month. So at that point, we were like, oh, okay, that's a lot of money, but, let's see. And they did exactly what Dr. Riggs has told. He said, give it 3 months. We're going to try you on, we did the Clomid, and then I did the shots, and I thought my husband was going to pass out going through that training. If any of you have been through that training, it's like, stab this thing, and he's like, I can't do it. You're going to have to do it yourself. So I had to stab myself a lot. So I went by, and on the way home from our third appointment, I just looked at my husband, and I said, you know what? I'm really just kind of done. I said, this is emotional. I was like, my body feels like I'm carrying a litter half the time. And, I was just finished. And he sighed this huge relief. And I was like, what? And he said, well, I was done a long time ago, but there was no way I was going to break your heart by telling you I was. And so, of course, I know for men it's really emotional, but for women, for some reason, ever since you're a little girl, that's all you think of is growing up and being a mommy. So that was something that he was just totally relieved by. So that's when I went home and I said, okay, well, let's seek some other options. Let's see what we're going to do. And I just prayed and I just asked God, would you please just give me some insight? Just give me a guidance of where you want us to go. And he led me straight to the Bible, straight to Jeremiah 29:11, which says, for I know the plans I have for you. And it's not to harm you, but it's to give you hope and a future. And so everywhere I went, that just was in my brain. And so I was like, okay, there's a hope, there's hope, there's hope. And so my husband and I decided, okay, well, let's look into adoption. So what we did is that we called a local agency that's in Kansas City, and they said, well, there's about a 2-year waiting list, and it can be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000, which that's where we kind of were waiting. Okay, well, if we do IVF, which is what they're trying us to do now, that's about the same cost. This is kind of a permanent thing. That's not so sure, so that's where we waited. Let's just seek adoption. So that's what we did. So they put us on this 2-year waiting list, and we're thinking, okay, that's great. Because it's so expensive, we can just put money in savings, and then by the time that happens, then we'll have that money saved. Well, God had different plans for us, and 2 weeks later, my mother-in-law called, and she said, I work with this lady that's a foster parent at my building, and she has a little boy who's got fetal alcohol syndrome. He's biracial, and he's very colicky, but would you like to come visit him because he really needs a home? So, of course, we're thinking, well, this is new to our journey, so let's give it a shot. So what we did is the week of Thanksgiving, we went and saw him. He was absolutely beautiful, and I just ate him up right there, but I eat up babies anyways. We're foster parents now, and as of next week, I'll have 4 kids under the age of 7, so I kind of just eat up babies all the time now. Wow. Yeah, we only take babies, so I have my son and then all the rest of the babies. So what we did is we went and saw him. That was the week of Thanksgiving, and we knew that this process could take many months. We were looking for a lawyer, and they're kind of expensive. I don't know if you know that, but lawyers aren't cheap either. So we kept looking for one and noticing that they were probably around $2,500. I'm like, okay, we can do that. But a friend said, well, try this man. His name is Michael Mann, and he's a professional in adoption. He is passionate about it because he was adopted himself. And so we were like, okay, well, he immediately said, well, I'll take your case. And he was the cheapest, though. Sorry, I'm supposed to say inexpensive. He's not cheap because his quality is not cheap. So then we had to do a home study. And so a home study is where they come to your home and they give you, they make sure that you're stable. And so I don't know why we passed. And then they make sure, they check everything. They make sure your finances are good. I mean, they do everything. Background checks, fingerprint checks, everything. And so I was like, okay, so I'm searching for somebody to come do a home study. And all the places I'm calling are saying, yeah, we can do that. It's a 3-month waiting list until we can get to you. And I was like, oh, here's this cute little sweet little boy in foster care, just, needs a mommy and daddy. And we're right here. Can't we just have him now? That's not the way it works. And so finally, somebody at church that actually works for DFS said, get this lady, a call because she is really good. And I just like her personality. I said, okay. So that was Sunday at church. On Tuesday, I called her, and she said, well, I'm available Thursday. Oh, like this Thursday? like in 2 days? She said yes. So that's the way God works in my life. And so 2 days later, she showed up, did our home study. everything was good. Everything was going exactly as planned. And so they called us and said, well, we've got your court dates. Remember, we met him on Thanksgiving, and they told us our court date was January 15th. So we think we're doing this 2-year waiting list. Not so much. I didn't have a car seat. I didn't have a diaper bag. I didn't have a bed. I had nothing. And we weren't trying to tell a lot of people because we know sometimes adoptions fall through. So I was like, okay. So I told one friend and told her, and then that friend told somebody else, and pretty soon our whole church knew, and our insurance agent and my boss and that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right. So they called and said January 15th, and it's going to be at 10 o'clock. And I said, all right, that's fine. So that Wednesday night, I was at choir, and I was telling the little girls before we were getting ready to sing, exactly what had happened. And I said, it's January 15th. I'm real excited. This process has gone so fast, and God's been so good to us. And can it be any better? And I looked at them and I said, but there's only one thing that my heart is hurting. And they said, why? And I said, well, it's baby's first Christmas, and he'll be in a foster home. And I'm like, okay, Shelley, get over it. I mean, seriously. And the lady behind me, who I don't even know who she was, she no longer attends our church, said, who's your lawyer? And I told her, and she said, well, what about your judge? And I told her, and she goes, oh, I know that judge's wife. And I was like, you do? Imagine that. And so I just talked to her, and I said, I just really would love to have this baby in our home for Christmas, but I was just going to have to get over it. I was just a little bit whining still. So what I did is the next day, we got a personal phone call from the judge. Oh. That woman had happened to go home, and she called the wife and told him all about us and how our story had just been an absolute miracle, and said, hi, my name's Judge Allen, and I have an availability and want to see if I can move your court date up. And I said, sure. When? And he said, December 24th at 10 a.m. And yeah, so I was like, can we be there? Yes. Forget the turkey. We're going to have a baby. And so right then, we were ecstatic, and we went into the courtroom, Christmas Eve, 10 a.m., standing room only. Everybody I possibly could think of was there, and I didn't tell them, so all of that one friend, she told everybody. So anyways, just to make this huge, long story so short, is that God had this awesome plan for us, and all we did was seek Him, and then it just happened to move this quickly. And so Mason Lane McCain was born on October 15, 2003, and we got to bring him home and call him our son on Christmas Eve, 2003. Oh. We are also in the process, since we've been fostering, we're in the process of adopting our second, and she'll have our last name in 4 months, so we're just waiting for the timing. So, yeah, and I just love babies, so good luck to everybody. There's hope.
Thanks for making me cry. That's amazing. I'll keep it really short and sweet because I kind of told you my story at the beginning of the event. But multiple miscarriages here, failed IUIs, and for some of you sitting here, I want you to know, you may think IVF, miracle cure. I had several failed. I had one miscarriage. I mean, it's just, it's a road that you go on. But one thing that I tried after my first IVF failed was Chinese medicine with Mary Zhang. Mary is over there. I love her. I did not know anything about acupuncture, but I was willing to, probably like many of you, try anything and everything, whatever. So Dr. Stewart told me, hey, look, he goes, after my first IVF failed, there's this Mary Zhang. I can't explain to you what she does, how she does it. I don't know, but he said it's worth a try. It can't hurt you, like as Dr. Milroy said, it can't hurt. Go for it. So I said, sign me up. So I went and saw Mary. I will tell you, after a few treatments, and she'll work her magic on you. That's what I just call it. She'll work her magic. But I did get pregnant that cycle with IVF. My first IVF completely failed. I did get pregnant that IVF cycle. And I miscarried. We did genetic testing. It was for a genetic reason. Nothing to do with what she did. What I do believe she did was helped my body to accept the pregnancy and to get pregnant. And she gave me a lot of hope. She kept me extremely relaxed. I can't tell you how relaxed I was that cycle. She was a cheerleader. I mean, there's just a lot of things that she does in her office, and you'd have to talk with her and meet with her and get all of the specifics, but I will say there's something very valid to what she does. And if you're looking for something else to try, I say why not? It's something else to try, and like I said, if anything else, it kept me my stress level way down. So thank you, Mary. Love you. Did I get a good question or? questions for anyone on the panel at all? Speak up. Yep.
Oh, whatever her name.
That's okay. Here.
Yeah.
Adoption.
Did you ever feel the loss that you weren't going to be pregnant?
Yes. I think when we were going through the fertility treatment, it's one of those things, and a lot of you obviously are going through that now, but it's almost like you have your blinders on at that time, and it's so weird to go back to that in my mind now. And, you know, even being with you guys today, you know, a lot of you, I'm talking to you about what you're trying and what you haven't tried and what worked and what hasn't worked. And I kind of like, you know what, there was things out there still that we did not try. And I'm thinking, maybe we should have done that. But I am just confident that this is where God has planned for us to be. We've had over 16 babies in our home that I have loved on and been able to pray over and sing over, and just, I still always get that we only take babies that are 2 and under, and so I always get, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so if I make sure my personal body can go ahead and go back and say, you know what, I kind of wish that I would have, you know, tried this, or maybe I should have done this, or, you know, it really could have worked, or it still could work. But I just know that I'm confident that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Does anyone else have any questions for anyone up here? Feel free. No? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. Please give them a round of applause for being so brave to share their stories. We do have some additional drawings. All right.